So I was making a video on how to play melee versus range matchup when I realized that I've actually been cheating in these matchups for the past 10 years, ever since my PC days. Because whenever someone picked a range champion into me, I just countered them with the hardest champion counter to all range champions. It's so easy to play that it actually feels like cheating. As you will see, it takes 0 skill and there's no counterplay against it. All you need is the knowledge of what to do and when, which I'll show you. The counter is Ludens Echo first item with these runes on MALPHITE. I'm not going to explain, I'm just going to show you. You see, I used to destroy lanes with AP MALPHITE well before the rune Scorch was released. And if it wasn't strong enough already on MALPHITE, it then received 2 further buffs to its damage. Now I truly believe that AP MALPHITE is the hardest counter against all squishy champions, and it even works in the mid lane. Lucian is the hardest range matchup in the game. And I'm against a Grandmaster main Lucian player. I start AP first item and just poke with skill 1. Skill 1 is long range, it's targeted so you cannot miss, and it steals their movement speed and gives it to you, so you can just throw it and bounce, and they won't be able to chase. You also need to fall back because minions will aggro onto you for 2 seconds. And when the aggro is over, start killing the enemy minions, otherwise they'll have a big minion advantage. But usually you won't have enough damage to completely hold the wave, which is fine. Just attack the wave whenever they let you. But do not take free damage when skill 1 is on cooldown. Now all you need to do is poke, then get behind your minions. If they try attacking you when you're behind your minions, they'll take too much minion damage, as you can see. And again, try holding the wave if they let you, and also try to avoid taking damage if possible, so your passive shield comes back up, which takes 10 seconds, but only if you do not take damage. Then you can poke for free and block their damage. At level 3, put another point into skill 1 for more poke, and because you'll never be in range to use your third ability anyway, and look at how much stronger the poke is now. Now he's too low to even push into the tower. So I can just freeze the wave and zone him away from any gold and experience. So he's forced to recall. A play here could have been to stop his recall so he keeps losing minions to the freeze. But I decided to freeze recall, which is also fine. The freeze means that there are more enemy minions damaging my minions. By the time I get back, he lost a full wave and I just lost 1 minion. Again, go for the exact same play. Poke every time it's up. Level 5 is a massive power spike. If they ever stay too close without full health, you can simply just ultimate and ignite, and you will one-shot them. I didn't even use skill 1 in that combo. He could have been full health here even, and I would have chased him down with skill 1 for a kill. And like I always say, they will push the next wave before you get back to lane, meaning you get to now salp a freeze by tanking the minions for a bit before your next wave arrives. The passive shield makes tanking the wave a lot easier. So the Lucian actually recalled, and because I set up a freeze, he loses a full wave and a half before he gets back. That's 340 gold and over half a level worth of experience. So again, I go back to the same tactic. Just poke. There's literally nothing he can do against it. I could have easily ultimate for the kill after the first poke, but it's a free gank anyway, because the freeze forced him to overextend. So I get to save my ultimate for the dragon fight. I finally finish my Ludens and head to the dragon. Turns out I wasn't needed. I see that my mid laner makes the correct macro play to go bot instead of mid to save the tower because I wouldn't have arrived in time. And then I see that mid lane is pushing away, which means the enemy minions will die to our wave. So all this golden experience will go to waste. And because my lane is being covered, I go and cover his lane to break the freeze and reset the wave for him. This also denies them our wave, which gets killed by their tower. So this little macro move was worth over 300 gold and a lot of experience. I still have my flash and ultimate, so I can easily rotate and kill the Lucian, even if he retreats under his tower. But because he's fighting Brand, he doesn't see me coming, so another successful play without using any major cooldowns. And because of that, I can stay and get the tower and possibly another kill. I poked the minion by mistake, so he wins this trade, but it's fine because right now I have Ludens, which is the biggest power spike for MALPHITE in a 1v1. So Ludens is the perfect item to snowball the laning phase, and it makes the enemy laner completely useless. After that you can build tank if your team needs one. You can also keep going for the full AP build if the enemy team is full of squishy carries and if your team already has a good tank. But looking at my team, we don't really need more damage. Brand is a high damage champion and so is Tristana, who is really fed. My jungler is building pure damage and our support is Pike, so if I build tank and soak up the damage for them, we'll easily win this game, especially since they have no tank. I'm gonna speedrun the rest of the game because I want to show more laning examples against different champions. So usually in the mid game, you want to push out a side lane and then group to look for a play and then repeat. My jungler gets a kill bot, so I stay mid for a play. Fail it miserably, but get the tower anyway because my Brand dealt a lot of damage. Then again, go shove a side lane. Mid is already pushed and everyone is topside, so I can take Herald. Shove side lane again. I'll go to join team, but I see that Dragon is almost up. And because I have Herald, I can apply a lot of split push pressure at the same time. And I will get the inhibitor unless they send multiple defenders. And if they do send multiple, then we get a free dragon anyway. Here I kill Lucian because they left him alone again, and then I threaten inhibitor tower. Meanwhile, my team dies 3 versus 4 somehow. I then get caught recalling with 0 mana, so Lucian runs me down because he's a champion with pure damage and mobility. And because I was sitting on almost 4,000 unspent gold and with no mana. But it's fine because their team comp is still useless. I built some health and magic resist, and I go and get my ultimate dodged again by Katarina, but get the kill anyway. We transitioned to Baron and tried turning on them, but I don't have my ultimate, so I poke from a distance. Morgana gets caught, so I go in for damage. Here I keep chasing because my ultimate is almost up, but they all disengage, so I just use it to gap close so I can skill 1 and then back off. But my support is a pike player, so of course he does this. I realize his stupidity and run away, but it was too late. He gave Katarina a reset. I get back and finally manage to ult Katarina, who is their only real threat, then chase Morgana for a kill. And then flank Azrael. Reset for the last Drake. Get the Drake. Go threaten Baron and look for a fight. Sense a fight starting bot lane, so I join and wait for Katarina to misstep, which she does. Delete her from the game. Soak up the damage because I built tanky. Get an ace and end the game. I've played probably over 1,000 games of MALPHITE, including League PC, and what I realized about his ultimate is that you do not have to get multiple targets. You don't even have to hit their backline. You just need to wait for at least one priority target to get close enough to the rest of your team. And then you ult them so your team can easily deal the follow-up damage. A multi-man ultimate is just a bonus. The main priority is being close to your damage dealers. Vayne. Vayne also beats most melee champions, but for MALPHITE, it's literally the easiest lane. So again, the exact same tactic. Poke and safely push the wave. If she attacks you, walk back and she'll start taking too much minion damage. Here I turned on her because she can't stay inside my wave and also fight me back. Vayne is a lot easier than Lucian because she can't push the wave like him. All she has is her basic attacks. She gets hard countered by skill 1 because you can just run back and they can't chase. If they ever let you get a push with MALPHITE, it's game over. Now I can poke for free and not worry about tanking a big wave. Meanwhile, she will get destroyed by my stacked up wave if she chases me with basic attacks. Level 3, another point into skill 1 for even more poke. This is what I meant when I said it feels like you're cheating. You're using a long range, unmissable poke, and if they fight back, my shield absorbs the damage. The only issue I used to have on MALPHITE on PC was running out of mana, but now you can use Manaflow for extra 30 mana every time you poke. This Vayne doesn't recall in time like Lucian did, so it's a free kill with Flash Ignite. This time, because I crashed a big stacked up wave, my next wave also crashes and dies, meaning the next wave will push towards me and I can once again set up another freeze. Here, if I had my Ignite and Flash, it's an easy kill, but I don't ult because she still has Flash, Exhaust and Ultimate, and could easily outplay me if I'm too predictable. So I play it safe until she's low enough for an easy execute, which is inevitable because she can't possibly avoid the poke. Part of the reason this works so well is because no one understands the power of AP MALPHITE, so they all underestimate the damage. Now I have my second power spike. Ludens. And look at the poke damage now. She tries to run away from the next one, but the range is just too broken. The Morgana killed my wave earlier with her puddle, so I couldn't freeze. Unfortunately here, I thought Vayne had recalled because she was low health, so I wasn't paying attention, and by the time I realized I'm under attack, she got her third attack's true damage off and kills me because of my slow reaction. However, that was my fault, not AP Malphite's. I also didn't have my shield because I was tanking minions before. The next fight was a fair 1v1 and it's an easy kill. At this point, I don't even need to wait to poke her down. And because I destroyed lane so hard, I end up carrying the game. Another thing you need to remember is that you don't need to destroy lane. Your team comp is automatically superior because they ruined their comp by picking a squishy Baron laner. And because their team will be that much more vulnerable, your ultimate is the perfect tool for catching them and blowing them up. AP Malphite doesn't just work against AD matchups, but also against AP. As long as it's a non-tanky champion, you will win lane. I use the exact same tactic against Cannon. Poke when he gets close, avoid his damage, and run away with movement speed until the poke is off cooldown again, and repeat. If he does manage to damage me, some of it is absorbed by the shield, and then I back off to regenerate the shield. You don't always have to poke as soon as it cools down. Sometimes it's best to wait a few extra seconds if your shield is close to recharging. Your Scorch rune also has a 10-second cooldown, so ideally you should poke every 10 seconds, but things don't always work as planned. As long as you know what the perfect play is, you can at least play for it. Here I prevent the wave from crashing into the tower. He gets his honey through and comes and tries to crash the wave. My goal is the same. Keep poking and try holding the wave but pushing back safely. I honey through for the mana, and now he's lost the wave battle and can't stay because the poke is simply unavoidable. Once again, zero counterplay. The range is just too much. The ability is targeted so he can't dodge, and his damage gets blocked. So he plays it smart and resets because he can't possibly win in this situation and is forced to lose this wave to the tower. I get back in lane with higher level, and I need him slightly lower than full health so I can one-shot him with my ultimate. So I go in for an extended trade. Now, as soon as my abilities cool down, I can ult him. Unfortunately, I tanked 6 minions, including the cannon, so it was close, but you can see how overpowered this counter is. Now I can afford Ludens, and he really doesn't want to lane against that. So he tries making a play elsewhere, fails, and comes back without his ultimate. Here I wanted to slow him and then steal his fruit. So I poke and back off during the damage to avoid tower aggro, but I forgot that the Scorch damage is 1 second later, so I end up taking tower aggro. Now my only option is to fight back. I see that the dragon is coming up, so the enemy jungler will most likely be there, so I'm safe to stay and push. There's no point in me getting there late and without my ultimate, so I just go for some plate gold and to deny cannon another wave. This cannon is less than half my gold and 2 levels behind, so this game is already over. Another cannon. This one plays extra aggressive and doesn't give me a chance to push the wave back, which is absolutely fine. I'll just stay back. I avoid him to get my shield and then poke. Skill 2 for extra armor.
I would very much like to see your Rojushi.
I hold my new wave at the tower for a few seconds so the waves meet closer to my side. Another point into skill 1 for the extra poke. He thinks that the poke is all the damage I have, so he runs into me for an extended trade. But now he's in my cannon wave, so I activate skill 2 and fight back. Skill 2 gives extra damage to basic attacks, especially the first attack after using it. And as soon as I aggro his cannon, I run back. Meanwhile, he's tanking my full wave, including the cannon. He ignites me here, and because ignite is a targeted attack, I know it will aggro my minions onto him the entire time. So as soon as my skill 1 cools down, I ignite at the same time and flash basic attack. MALPHITE melee range damage is actually pretty strong against squishy range champions. The only issue is getting to melee range. Unless of course they dive into you. Just don't try melee fighting tanky bruises with AP MALPHITE. I get back to lane and get ganked by an awful gank, but it prevents me from holding the minions and freezing the lane. But I still managed to keep the wave here for now. And then remember, I only need a few pokes before I can ult for the kill. Here, because I didn't have my ignite yet for a full combo, I needed him a bit lower, so I go for another poke, which was a mistake because now he's too scared to stay in lane and recalls. And because the lane is pushing into him, he doesn't lose many minions. In fact, he just loses one. I poke and run back to reset minion aggro, and then because he knows the wave will come into him, he can just stay back and not lose anything. So I get a bit desperate to poke him, and I make the mistake of overextending for it at lower health and before my shield recharged. So he turns onto me with his ultimate. Here I make another mistake of ulting away because I didn't realize he was tanking my massive minion wave. If I ulted him, he for sure would have died. But it's fine because my jungler cleans him up anyway. I once again make another mistake of overstaying for a tower plate gold. Here I know he's gonna cancel my back, so I slow him and run away first. And again my recall positions are bad and I get cancelled twice. But fortunately he takes a tower shot, and because my ultimate is almost back up, I stay. I avoid his poke to recharge my shield and then wait for him to get close enough for a kill. So another AP champion, Teemo. He can be really annoying because his poison attacks keep damaging you over time, meaning my shield doesn't start charging until the poison ends. If the shield is a few seconds away from coming back, then just hold back from poking until you get it. Again, I managed to hold the wave at the perfect position and keep poking. Level 3, another point into skill 1, and just keep being annoying because at level 5, if they are not full health, it's a free kill, with almost zero counterplay, even if they are hugging their tower. I overstay again for the turret plate and get solo ganked by Lee. And I have no mana, so I can't use skill 1 to steal his movement speed, but he's only level 4. He uses his skill 1 at the end because it deals extra damage if the target is low health. But before he can use it again, I flash into the tower and then ignite for another kill. I get back to lane with stronger items, fail my poke onto a minion, but it doesn't matter anymore at this point. I keep poking, steal his fruit, and he tries to fight back and pays for it. Here I don't ult him because I literally have nothing else, so I just wait a few seconds for my abilities and then kill him because he doesn't expect the range. Now I got Ludens, and look at the poke. If I had my ultimate, I could have one-shot him from full health, but he thinks he can still lane against me. Nope. After this, I transition into tank items so my damage falls off. So AP MALPHITE doesn't just work against range champions, he works against almost all squishy champions. My lane opponent is a pro player on a top European team. The tactic remains the same: poke, back off, push wave back safely, and repeat. Freeze the wave here if they let you. Try not to get your honey fruit stolen, otherwise you'll have mana issues. And another point into skill 1 at level 3. Akali took both plants, so I kind of messed up with this one, but the poke is still impossible to play against. Once again, when I get level 5, it's a free kill. Or at least it should have been, if I had used another ability. But I left it to my jungler to finish it off, which he failed also. Again, that was my fault, not AP MALPHITE's. We fight off the enemy jungler, and then see that Akali stayed, so we stay also. The Vi thinks she can ult me, but doesn't realize that Akali is still level 4 and too low in health to help. So we got a free kill, push the wave and recall. I got back to lane, up in levels and items, and start poking. She realizes that her situation will only get worse because of my poke. So she decides to all-in me before she's too low health. She dodges my ground slam, bursts me and goes invisible, so I retreat into my minions. She then outplays me by predicting my ultimate, but nevertheless, I'm still strong enough to force her out of lane. But then she decides to stay because she doesn't want to lose this wave. This is a mistake because if the jungler is around, it's an easy dive. I tank the tower for my jungler who responds late, but we get the kill anyway because she has nowhere to run. I then transition to dragon and we win the game from there. Another easy lane despite my numerous mistakes. I actually would have won even without jungle help. In fact, I would have killed her here myself, but I left it for Eve and ended up losing the kill. So basically, you can only AP MALPHITE against weak defense squishy champions, not against a lot of the melee tank or bruiser champs, because they are tankier, so they will take longer to poke down, and they will also usually have some sort of damage reduction or healing in their kit. It can work if they play it wrong, but if they don't, then you're screwed. but against most squishy champions, it's a free lane. After Ludens, I sometimes transition to a tank build. You can go Thornmail or Iceborn next item. Thornmail gives the most armor, which is the most useful stat on MALPHITE because his second skill increases any armor he has by 30%. So this item alone gives MALPHITE 100 armor instead of the usual 75. Also, his third skill does bonus damage equal to 30% of his total armor. And Thornmail also returns damage to whoever attacks you, and that return damage is increased by how much armor you have. This is the reason MALPHITE is so tanky and yet still does decent damage. His only weakness is when the enemy team has a lot of AP damage. Another item that is core on MALPHITE is Iceborn. This item gives all the stats that MALPHITE desperately needs, and it increases his basic damage after using a skill, and it leaves a slowing area. The damage and the slow field increases depending on the amount of armor you have. And because MALPHITE loves building armor, this is another perfect item for him. So choose between these items for your AP build. I mostly go for this for AP, and choose between these items for your tank build. So to summarize, if anyone picks a range champion into you first, pick MALPHITE, use these runes, start building Ludens, level 1, poke and run away to reset minion aggro, and then stay out of their damage range until cooldown. Push the wave back, but only if they let you. Poke again on cooldown, or wait 2 extra seconds for Scorch cooldown. If your shield is down and is a few seconds away from returning, then wait until it does to poke again. But if you're already ahead in health, then you don't have to wait for the shield. At level 5, if they are below 80% health, ultimate them and use everything. If they have barrier, then wait until they're below 50% health. And in team fights, if one of their priority targets ever gets close to your team, then just ult them so your team can follow up. Use this to counter range champions, not only in lane, but in team comp.